European crossover webinar, and bear with me, apologies for the delay. Put this up a bit. So we are seeing the euro come just a little bit off of its lows, but the weakness that started yesterday continues to pervade, if you want to say that. Certainly we're seeing the peso continue to also be lower. Let's go on and bear with me one. And for what we have on tap for today, we did have the German IFO numbers that came in just a hair bit better than was the Reuters poll, which was 94.5, came in at 94.6. Let's see here. We do have, that's going to be when we come into the States, University of Michigan, but that's going to be final reading on that. So it's not going to be much of a mover, as it's going to be the final reading, and that's going to be it. That will be it. So we pretty much don't have a whole lot of data to go through with today. One moment. And let's go on and take a look at a couple of the other markets. As you can see here, we did break out here in the gold. Now, it looked like we had a chance to really push even further. We pushed just a little bit higher, not a whole lot. I mean, in this little last run here, especially the way they closed yesterday, it felt like there was a lot of pressure to go much higher. Crude oil, we finally eased back just a bit. We still have that opportunity to make it up here to 57.15, which you can see here, the level here, along with that confluence with that being the 50% from 50.94 to 63.34. Boons are beginning to slide back a little bit here. Okay. And thanks, guys, for letting me know if that was not going through. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, he said that the audio just died. And I was getting a message from the system stating there was an issue with that. Okay, great. Thanks a lot. But as I was mentioning here, we are seeing the boons slide back a little bit here, which is going to be a bit supportive for the euro. And we're actually seeing the euro work a little bit higher, not a whole lot. Let's go and go back here into the cross rates. We are seeing the euro kiwi move a little bit higher after what's been certainly a disappointment for those that did get long on that breakout. We'll take a look here on the daily. So after doing that, failing here on that breakout, we're actually kind of holding here, and we're just above the apex. So we're working a little bit hard, but I think most of those people that did get trapped on those buys as we did the breakout, I think most of those people were flushed out at this point after falling, not only falling back, but falling even below the apex. The only difference here was we didn't fall to a new low on this move, but pretty much the damage had been done. Guppy's still holding above its resistance. So let's go on and move into the news. Bear with me. So it says sterling nurses' losses as the next Brexit hurdle approaches. The pound nursed losses versus the dollar and the euro on Friday after Prime Minister Boris Johnson called for an election, heightened uncertainty over Britain's divorce from the European Union. The British currency is likely to remain fragile ahead of the meeting later on Friday, where European Union officials may decide how late they want to extend Britain's deadline to leave the EU beyond the current date of October 31st. At this stage, an election looks unlikely because the main opposition Labour Party has withheld its support and other opposition parties have rejected the offer. However, the twists and turns of the Brexit process have proved too complex to predict, which is likely to discourage some investors from taking on excessive risk before the EU agrees to a new deadline. We're constructive on starting the midterm because we don't see a high chance for a general election, said Osamu Takashimi. My personal concern is once political uncertainty lifts, people will focus more on the UK's economy, which is weakening. This could be a negative for sterling. Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn said he would wait to see what the EU decides on a Brexit delay before deciding on a general election. However, Corbyn also repeated he could only back an election when the risk of Johnson taking Britain out of the EU without a deal to smooth transition was off the table. The IFO Economic Values closely watched measure German sentiment due later on Friday, which we've already got that. It's expected to weaken slightly. Well, it actually came out just a tenth higher than the poll, and we can actually look at, came in a tenth higher than the poll, but what was the actual comparison to the prior one? So looking here with the IFO, you can see here it came in a tenth better than the actual poll, but compared to the last, came in right in line. You see that? 94.6. Polls for 94.5. So basically no change whatsoever. The ECB's left monetary policy unchanged on Thursday after unveiling its big stimulus package last month. But there are concerns the ECB's firepower has largely been spent. The dollar index against the basket of 6 currencies was little change at 97.69. Focus shifts next week to the Federal Reserve's meeting and Bank of Japan's meeting. Fed is expected to cut interest rates for a third time this year. I remember, and we're going to move into the charts. I was thinking about this yesterday. This is actually, I guess it must have been on the last meeting. There was quite a bit of talk that they're really going to make an effort to come up with some type of stimulus on this meeting coming up. I know there were some thoughts that they were going to at the last one. They didn't. And so I think that the dollar yen maybe kind of be held hostage in this area here. So there's still the risk that you could push up a little bit higher, unless we see some type of a dramatic sell-off with the indices. I think that's about the only thing that concerns that. I did look on here with some additional information on the German IFO, just saying Brexit uncertainty prevails among executives, but nothing of any real consequence that I see here. Let's see here. So let's go and move into So the year slid on a non-eventful ECB. Yeah, it does appear not to have any sustainable lift. For support, Friday will be 1065 level. Confidence with 1065 to 38%. I referenced this in the chat room we were starting to follow yesterday. Let's take a look at this. So if we do see the wheels come off to a certain extent, and Rick's saying, hang on a moment, I'm not sure what's going on here, hang on. Rick's saying that the volume's coming in loud and scratchy. I'm not sure what's going on here, hang on. Bear with me. Usually it's even breaking up. I'm hesitant to move it again. I was, that was part of the delay because I couldn't get, when I started late, I couldn't get the mic. It came disconnected from the back and I couldn't get the piece. Okay, I think the volume's good now. I think. Okay, great. Yeah, I was just thanks, Rick. Thanks for all the assistance. Yeah, I was actually tapping the mic, so I wasn't typing, but I was tapping it. Thanks. What I did was I changed the whatchamacall, the there's two USB selections, so I tried a different one there. But yeah, this morning I was trying to get the portion of the mic, the back end came out and it wouldn't go back in. So thanks for the assistance. Really appreciate it. So hopefully the volume stays clear. But thanks again. So moving on to the euro. Boy, what a start. Good thing it's Friday. But anyway, we did go and get the slide back in the euro. The one thing that's offering a little bit of a positive is we are seeing bunds pare back a bit, which obviously means a little bit higher rates, not a whole lot, but just a little bit higher, which is providing a little bit of a lift. Okay, I mean, look, bunds led this whole euro on the way down, bunds led it on the way back, and so, like I said, there's not really any news out. I'm giving the credit to the bunds for trying to hold this market up. But if we were to hit some stops in the morning, or if we get into the U.S. session, and yeah, Rick says it's good. I did go on. I think I'm gonna start using this other there's two USB ports I can select from, and but I did have the cord from the back of the mic actually came undone. It wouldn't pop back in this morning. That was a delay, but sorry about that. But once again, thanks to Rick for letting me know when the sound was coming in and coming out and popping. That being said, if we do go in and slip, there's a potential. I saw this. You can see here, 1065. That's a 38%, but you can see is just right there with this high is just a hair above, and also right here where the market pairs back and holds. Now that's still a pretty good little ways back. So the wheels would really have to come off the caboose to go and do that. But just in case we are going to put it down there, I don't think it, I still think that yesterday's support of 1080 is more likely if we were to take that dip. 1065, it's 38%. Also, being a Friday, that if we were to start hit a bout of selling in the euro, I think you could have some people really bail out. So yeah, we could go as far as the 1065. On the upside, bear with me, it's going to be 1160. And not sure it's going to go and generate that to get it up at that point. I'm still going to give the euro the benefit of the doubt because it is above that area here. So, and it's above the 38% also. So certainly going to stay bullish. Let's go and move into the cable. Okay, cable paired back below 28 even, but managed to close at the day's bias chart support, which was 28.40. The resistance is 29 with support at the day's low of 27.89. So you can see here with cable, we really started to push these stops and we came back and we actually held above yesterday's bias chart support, which was 28.40. Okay, we closed above it, even though we had dipped lower. But the support now for today is going to be yesterday's lows, which is 27.89. And resistance on the upside we were putting here for 29 even. You can almost make the case of 29.11, but I will go with 29 even. I think the upside is starting to wane here for the cable. I'm surprised actually it's been able to hold up at this area here. And I think now the mic seems like okay, so hopefully this holds out till the rest of the day. Let's go on and go into the odd. So it says the Aussie has lost its upside mojo. That's what I put in here. The pair is drifting back to the prior breakout level, which is 68.09. You can see that right here. A further break has supported 68,782 with resistance at 68.60. So additional support would be 67.82, but we're still above the breakout. Remember here, we were bumping our heads up in here. That's still going to be what we had listed for support here. So 68.09. And on the upside, well, that still remains up in here, but do we really think we're going to make that move? Well, it's not that far away, but we're going in and just for today, lower it down to here. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but we haven't moved a lot. But there's some pretty good volume there. So let's just call it 68.62, which isn't that far away, but once again, I think that's where the market may run out of gas for today's session. Definitely still bullish. Now let's go move into the Kiwi. Yeah, and there was no changes here in the Kiwi. None whatsoever. And going back to last update was 63.42, which we're just about there. So let's mark this here. Actually, we had 63.37, so we'll keep that there. The upside we had for 64.36. And that'll stay the same right there. Let's go and move into the dollar CAD. Boy, my throat's so dry. I actually do have some water here. Oh. Whew, feels a little bit better. Moving on to the dollar CAD. Man, this has just been really surprising in the sense that not that it fell, and this has been really quite the fake out because we saw here, point here. Right here. And then we saw this market take off, and then we couldn't sustain it. We broke. But here's the key thing is that we broke lower and continue to push lower here, and we have not been able to sustain a bounce of any real consequence. Remember last week we were looking for, we said, in the analysis, we said we have a date with 31 even, 31, and then we had a buy stretch support at 30.89. The market did find some support there, and I thought we'd quickly spring up to 31.36 with the potential to go into 31.66. Holy smokes, we have not been able to generate anything up a year. It's been, now I will say this, we haven't made it down to 30.43, which is our bias chart support, the next level. You can see that come across, but this market continues to stay so weak. It's, you know, it's interesting because we seem to be holding in this area, but And you know what? I almost feel like, I don't know if that means if we're holding and we're holding very, very quiet. Does it mean like there's one big push down? Potentially, I guess, but it's quiet trading. But I tell you what, the inability for this market to even grab. I thought, here um, we dipped lower, okay? And then yesterday, we same thing, a tight range, finished in the middle of the day with a very, very small doji here. And today we're pretty much doing the same thing. There's just not going to be a change here. The only difference is that it's 30.43, but the upside is going to be 31.08. And holy smokes, that seems like that's even going to be a tough area to get to. So let's go and push this here. It's going to move down to 31.08. Certainly bearish, but it's really interesting. It really is. I almost felt like we could maybe see a little bit short covering. The range is so tight over the last couple of days, we could probably be spooked on either side. I think at this point, I think you really want to exercise some caution with this, because you could easily trip the stops on the downside and come right back into range and maybe close to 31 or just above it, or push even lower. I just don't have a good take on this dollar CAD, other than, once again, the levels 30.43. But be careful with this because the ranges have been so tight. Let's go and move into the peso. You could almost say this is similar, but the weakness is it's been pervasive in the sense that, I've already mentioned this so many times, I'm going to mention it anymore, but like I said, we're below the 1923.6. We said, hey, there was opportunity to get to 08, made it to 08, and we're just holding here. I guess some people are worried that we're going to break even further. To me, I'm sticking to what we've already had, which is 1902 and 1920. This one, unlike the dollar CAD, because the dollar CAD actually faked out on both sides, but this one seems like it's just a little bit tired here, but we can't get a bounce, okay? But I think that there's still a possibility we'll jump back into above the 1923.6. I don't want to say jump back into the range per se, but it doesn't feel like the rug could be pulled out from under you, unlike the dollar CAD. The dollar CAD's a little bit spooky in that sense, and because we've had such a hard fall. We have had a fall here in the peso, but don't forget that we'd already fallen down here and held, came up, and then this was a disappointment, and we paired back. The difference is with the dollar CAD, let me move back into that. Sounds like I'm whatever, blathering or whatever. The difference I see here, look, that's just been one big final swoop. You see what I'm saying? It's like, wow, it's already fallen quite a bit, and it just can't seem to pick itself up. And I'm not even trying to be, humorous here. It's just like, wow, that is a pretty big fall, and we're just stuck at the bottom. You see what I'm saying? Unlike with the dollar peso, we fell and we had a chance to recover, and the recovery was weak, and now we paired back and we've just fallen down. The market's kind of hanging here. But to me, it doesn't feel like there's another shoe to drop where you could say, wow, the bottom fell out. Now, that may happen, but I'm just saying is it doesn't feel as foreboding as the dollar CAD does. Although I think, like I said, the dollar CAD could be a little bit of a fake out. So personally, I don't see why anybody would even be trying to can't talk, end of the week. We try to trade the peso from the long side. The only thing with the dollar CAD, I would be a little bit careful there. I feel like that one is going to be like a fake out where we dip and then maybe come back. Anyway, that being said, no changes here. 1902 on the downside, 1920 on the upside, still bearish. It just doesn't feel as foreboding, to repeat myself, as the dollar CAD. Dollar CAD just looks, I would stay away from that, the dollar CAD. Let's go and move into the dollar yen now. Guess I'm a little bit chatty. Last day of the week feels good. Thank God it's Friday. So here's the deal on the dollar yen, and I put on here that there was no changes. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I remember on this last BOJ meeting, there was talk that they were going to do some additional stimulus. They didn't, or that there was going to be like a surprise. Let me put it that way. There was a surprise. They were going to, and that didn't really come to fruition. But I think that the risk is on this. So not that the dollar yen, if you think about what equities are, this dollar yen should be above 109. We should be pressing up against 927 or even above it. So the dollar yen has really kept itself restrained to a certain extent. I think once we get past the BOJ, then we can probably rotate lower. But for right now, until we get past BOJ, I think this market will be held hostage unless the SPOOs come apart. So I think on the upside, there's still the risk. It's still going to be 888. I think we had that marked off. Yeah, 880. Let's just call that 888. And on the downside, let's go into the 2-hour chart. Right there, 828. Okay, let's go into the dollar index. Okay, I addressed this yesterday on the FX Daily Roundup. Bear with me. Look, this market, and as we, obviously since we're at the end of the week, I've got a dry throat, so my hang on, let me get some a little bit more water. I'm not sick, but my throat is really dry. Holy smokes. That being said, this 97.89 is a huge weekly level. I mean, I showed it, it goes way back. And we kept bumping up against it. We finally got above it, failed, above, failed, failed. We got above it. We generated a little bit of momentum, but we slid back. The key thing is 97.89 is huge. We had that as a target 2 weeks ago. We got there, and I thought, and point this out here. So we got here, and I'm thinking, hey, we're going to get a bounce from there. So we got down there, and actually, I think the low we pointed out was actually 97.90. And the bounce was all of only 21 ticks. So this market, to me, technically speaking, is a straight up sell. Only on any moves to 97.89, to me, you want to accumulate new shorts. We did make it up to 97.77 yesterday. We had our bias chart resistance, remember, before 65 from 2 days ago. So we actually pushed it up to 97.89 yesterday. I believe we did. Yeah, there we go. So your risk levels, really any moves to 97.89, really it's a sell. And the only thing that's going to go on and change is if we got a weekly close above 97.89, and the level just above that is going to be where the market had, if you want to call it a return rally, it wasn't much of one, which was 21 ticks off of the low. So that'd be the 98.11. Now that was looking at as we came into yesterday. Obviously, as I mentioned, I think it's a sell, but my take was that if we closed above 97.89, then you'd want to cover your shorts, and not that that would make it bullish. It would just simply negate the downside. Okay, so coming into a Friday, you could still sell this against 97.89, but it wouldn't be as earlier in the week. I'd say, oh yeah, 97.89, you got this extra level here at 98.11. Oh yeah, add on or whatever like that. But the caveat was, as long as it doesn't close above 97.89 on the weekly, well, we're already there. It's Friday. But once again, to me, it's a sell without that. And if we were to close above 97.89, doesn't turn it bullish. It would just simply negate the short-term bearish outlook. So I hope that explains it clear. So it's going to be 97.89 on the upside, and the downside seems a stretch to put it all the way down to 97. Let's go into the 2-hour chart. Let's call it 97.26 right there. There we go. And let's go move into the cross rates. Okay, here we are with the QEN. And we've actually slid further back in here. Bit of a surprise, actually. Let's go and take a look at this on the 2-hour chart. We have it at 69.09. That's still good, but my concern is if we hit some stops here as we come into the weekend. Yeah, let's go with that. I mean, because that's the risk right here, down to here, which is going to be 68.82. So we're going to lower the support down to 68.82. That you see right here is well, let's put it this way. If anybody's bullish, Blake always makes a good point, and I like to go that same route. You got to put yourself in the other. I can't even talk. It's Friday, end of the week. You put yourself in the other person's shoes, so you have to look at it and say, okay, well, I think it's going to hold, but if you were bullish, okay, a bullish stock on it. Bullish, yes, but I'm saying is, let's say you had put on some long positions, and you're saying, oh, I think, look, we're coming back here, I think, and we broke out. This is a great area here. I'm going to pick it up right here. So let's say these were new positions, okay, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, what the heck? We're already going even lower. I got long at, let's say, 69.48, and now I'm already down 30 pips. And look, they're probably going to press these lows here. So once again, you would think that they'll probably press those stops a little bit, thinking, okay, anybody that's long, that's a new long, they're probably going to have their stops below these lows, and you can see right there, okay? So we trigger those stops here, see if we can get some additional push lower, and that takes us down to 69.01, but we're looking here at from technical level, right here, we see some good demand, and that would come in around 68.82. So once again, as we close out the week, sometimes I like to refer to it with 50 pips called the Friday flows. So, lots of times you'll see, the market goes back and forth, and as we get past Wednesday, then the market starts getting into its direction, and then those that might be weak position traders, I don't mean position, but I mean weak from a point where they're not going to hold for very long, then they end up finding themselves in a difficult situation, say, well, I'm going to put my stops here, or I definitely don't want to hold it over the weekend. And there's that possibility that we can push here and push those stops. So there we go. On the upside, it's going to be right there, 69.56. Still bullish overall. Let's go and move into the euro yen. That's going to be resistance right there. $21.10. Obviously, with the weakness we've seen here in the euro. The support for 2035 will hold. Unlike the Kiwi yen, you can see here we're moving higher. Unlike the Kiwi yen that you can see here, they're pressing. So you would think, okay, you're going to go with that momentum. And on top of that, it's a Friday. We're going to try and test these lows. Unlike here, we're actually moving higher. So that's why the current lows, yeah, they're still holding in place. We're going to stick with that. Unlike with the Kiwi yen, we actually had to expand that potential for the support, moving that lower. Let's go and take a look here with the euro odd. No changes here in the euro odd. I guess if the euro found a little bit of strength, we might be able to move a little bit even higher, but it's probably not doing too bad, holding its own right in here, especially when you consider the weakness post ECB. So we're not that far off. So no changes here with the euro odd. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Look at the 2-hour chart. It's actually there. 63.02, which isn't even that far away. I guess we're looking at the daily from yesterday. So it's going to be, for today, it's going to be 63.02. You can see we're in a well-defined range. And on the downside, let's make sure we have that. 62.20. Yeah, okay. We must have been focusing on a little bit longer term with the daily previously. Let's go to the Euro Kiwi. This is, as I mentioned, I pointed this at the beginning of the show, really a disappointment for those that got long. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for those that got stuck in that situation. It didn't even make a whole lot of sense that this didn't even push higher when you look where equities are. But boy, was this a big disappointment from a technical standpoint. We finally broke out of here, and we actually saw some follow through, okay? And so it looks like this thing could be up, and away. And then we slide back, and boy, what a slide. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, a 5-day run to the downside. And within that 5-day run, not only did we move lower below initial support, which had been 75.02, we even slid past the apex. The one thing that held right here was the 73.09. Now we are coming off of that, but boy, holy smokes. I mean, to me, if I'd been long, well, I guess it depends on where, but even from a technical standpoint, your first area was right here, which was at 75.02. But once we got past the apex, come on. I mean, and there was it right there, depending on where you want to put it, even on the being there, giving it a little bit benefit of the doubt, you can say 74.03, and we even went past that. You see what I'm saying? So that had to flush out all those new longs from a technical standpoint. So here we are, we're bouncing back a little bit. On a stretch, it'd be 75.02. And support. Well, we've already started to come off of that. Let's go and look into the 2-hour. It's going to be right there. Let me move just a little bit higher, right there, 73.74. Let's go move into the RCN. I think with the BOJ, you got to look for this market to hold. And also equities are still holding up very well. So we're actually going to move this up higher to right there. It's not a whole lot higher, but right there. 73.79, which isn't that far away, but 73.79. With resistance coming up at 74.49. Not much of a change. The Euro Kiwi, we have it in a range for right now. Let's go move into the guppy. So you can take a look at it from a daily. But we are hanging on, even though it's a downside, I don't want to say bias, but I mean downside drift, if you want to call it, or tendency. But we're still holding up pretty good, considering the magnitude of the move we've had. So let's take a look here on the 2-hour chart. $38.89. 38.90, so that's good enough. Upside, I don't really see in this turnaround taking off for today. So we're actually going to move this to here, 40.21. Oh, tighten it up by about 55 pips. And lastly, starting odd. Holding up pretty well overall. Not bad. Although, boy, this was a key weekly level up in here. And look at this. That was quite you look at that. Kept holding up in here and opened the door for us to move lower. It's not a pair I trade, but boy, certainly had some opportunities. But then again, then you're stuck in the middle where it's not doing a whole bunch of anything. You'd think you'd be looking at a 15-minute chart. This is actually a 2-hour chart. From a volume standpoint, we're going to stay right there with that, which is 88.98. At least that's what we're showing here on that. So actually, it's a drift lower or a ratchet lower. 88.98 and downside. The wheels didn't come off yesterday when we saw cable really under a lot of pressure. We're actually going to move this up a little bit higher, which is going to be right there. See this touch is coming across. It's just going to be 87.30. Let's go and move into the other markets. So crew's been tricky. Well, we saw that big move, but um, we did come up here to 61%, 161%. We actually tagged it right at the end, and then we saw this drift back. But we were looking for a confluence here of the daily 56.51. So that was a nice confluence there. Daily level 56.51 along 56.47, 161%. I thought we'd be able to stretch up to 56.65. Now, ultimately, it looks like the market's going to want to make it to 57.15. And let's go to the daily. This is where, I thought the market would take a pause, but I thought we'd make it, and we almost made it to 56.51, and 56.47 was 161%. Looks like they just tagged that, and we did drift back. And we do have, if it was a little bit higher, the body, you could almost say there was almost like an evening star, but we'd have to be much higher. But I still thought there was a possibility that we'd probably goose the stops up to 56.65. I actually was working a limit at the time. And I thought we were going to get there, and then we'd slide back, and we didn't. We did slide back, but we're still holding our own. We may not get there today, but maybe by Monday or Tuesday, I don't know. It certainly seems like we'll want to get up here to this 57.15. You see that? Good level there, which is also confluencing with 57.14, the 50% of this whole range. Gold finally got above here. Remember, I kept talking about this 95, and we did rotate lower again. I was like, I don't want any part of that because we're going to move higher, and certainly we did move higher. Unfortunately, I didn't even participate in this, which was kind of foolish, rather foolish. And I think it did fake out a couple of people when we came up in here. We paired back, and I think it fooled some people. And we've even continued to push higher. Now, what I did go and notate here was the next level, which you look is here is 1509. I think that translates to about 1512 or almost 1512 on the D's futures. So we have the potential still to move up another $3. The thing is that it does look like maybe we're really starting to make a move higher. You see what I'm saying? Like we're just in the infancy. And look how many times this thing bumped up against 1495. And remember, we faked a lot of people out who were looking for a move down to 1450. And so we rallied back and we slid back again. So I'm thinking, okay, now it's over. Meaning, hey, that's it. Now we'll rotate lower. We moved back up to 1495. I talked about this, and back to 1495 again. One more, and I haven't done anything with gold lately. I think I traded about a couple of weeks ago or a week and a half ago, but we slid back, and I kept and the pullbacks here, and I was mentioning is were a bit drawn out for me. We weren't seeing that back and forth trading. And so you'd have to hang on. You can see here we were trading very quiet, and we'd start to rotate lower or higher, either way. So it was not my cup of tea. But certainly we did. My concern was, hey, if it gets back to 1495, I don't want any part of it on the short side. I think we're going to hit some stops. So we did, which I should have just played it from that side, thinking, okay, let them hit the stops. Even if I'm not bullish straight up, although it looked like it would move higher, then just play it for the stops. But we are pushing higher. But I think that this next level is 1510 on the, which would be almost $4, about $3.50 away on the spot, which will translate to about 1512 on the futures. But my take is this may just be the infancy of this move. I think yesterday someone was asking, and Stelio says that he thinks, yeah, maybe it's starting to break out. And I hate to think that anybody would have been short from this whole area. So if they were, this market may continue to press higher. My 2 cents on that, or not 2 cents, with my blathering, what I'm trying to get to is I think this is the next level. but don't try and stand in front of this. And it's a Friday on top of that. This may be where it'll go to, but you could maybe see this thing get up there, pause, and then rip again. And it really spooks some people. And so the next level would actually be 15, 16. You're looking potentially for a $10 move from here. Let's actually go on. Let me go and put this here. There. So even though the next level is $3.50 away, we might really pop and go for this 15, 16. So just be careful. Don't try and step in front of this, especially on a Friday too. So we could just see this market just kind of make a rip up to there. So, or if you get long, you could maybe take some of it off at 15.10 on the spot, i.e. 15.12 in the futures, and let it run for up in here. But we shall see. That's all we have for today. Good luck trading, and I'm glad to be at the end of the week, as I said, TGIF, and good luck trading with the day ahead. Thanks for joining us here on the European Crossover.